We know this ain't right.
Man, this can't be life.
We gotta unite.
Fidel 101.
Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. If you're new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. But today I'm going to give a definitive synopsis on an extrapolation of events that must take place before the year 2030 that leads up to the abomination of desolation. So ladies and gentlemen, get those notes out. It's a lot of information we're going to cover tonight, a lot of incriminating information that leads up to divine prophecy, right? And divine retribution. Right? Now, I need you to understand something. Now, what happened was FEMA took over when Trump signed the National Emergency Declaration, which suspends the Constitution under the Piscean Age, which is ruled by Neptune. And Neptune, which is the pitchfork, which is acclimated to the Great Deceiver. And the Great Deceiver is ruled under a covenant contract made with the Archons, right? So this is why you having a transmutation of power, right? So this is why you see the white hats to disable phones, mobile devices during FEMA EAS test on October 4th, right? Because during that time period on October 4th, right, you have Mercury moving into Libra. And Mercury is basically the personification of the prophetic divination, communication, and is ruled by trickery, right? So everything is being connected to a demonstrative government, because that's what democracy is. Democracy is a demonstrative government ruled by demonic rulership under a corporate power, a corporate war entity, right? So what we got going on here is that you got the white hats believe FEMA has an ulterior motive for testing its new toy, which basically trace and tracks members of the white hat community, patriots whom FEMA label as domestic terrorists throughout the United States. So the people who have their own critical thinking skills, people who have independent thinking, these are the people who are considered to be domestic terrorists, because we are no longer acclimated to the conformity of the trickery and the trick knowledge that is perpetuated by the system, right? So this is another way to basically, to destabilize the country and to centralize, right? So that's, under the Hegelian dialectic, that's the inception point of it is you destabilize, then you centralize, and then centralization is connected to the continuity of government, right? Meaning that you have a different form of rulership that's carrying out the governmental agenda as the end of the corporation starts to phase out. So this is supposed to be taking place around October. So this is why I put out that video last year called the October Surprise. I was off, by a year, but I knew that something was going to be taking place when it comes to activating FEMA and activating, certain things on a planet when a planet is in the state of destabilization, right? So now, hold on. Now, all this is connected to the emergency transmission system warning. So this is why, why NESARA, GESARA will be activated, and then you will have militarized United Nations military groups starting to mobilize, right? Meaning that the military will basically be removed by the cabal controlled by governments of worldwide simultaneously arrest 500,000 sealed indictments worldwide. So this is connected to the seven trumpets, right? So the EBS, the emergency broadcast system text messages alerting to tune in to radio, phone, TVs. This is all this is basically a state of emergency, and the state of emergency in itself is basically a signal that it's the end of a corporate system. So the emergency systems and the services will still work. Internet, ATMs will not work during this time period, including your phone. So the emergency services in itself is a form of global martial law, because martial law is connected to a trilateral connection, which is connected to FEMA, the United Nations, and the BRICS nation. Because I told you that BRICS is basically a crypto control system that works on the mark of the beast principles. And the mark of the beast principles is ruled by the Whore of Babylon that's connected to the United Nations. So this is why they're going to put Kamala Harris in power. We're going to get into that later. So you got the global martial law includes 10 days of communications, darkness, emergency broadcast systems operating around the world and things of that nature. And then you got the 10 days of communications of network. So like I said, it's a form of destabilization. So now I need you to understand something. Let me minimize this for a second. I need you to understand something. FEMA has more power than the presidents of the United States, right? Which is a corporation. And it has more power than the Congress. It has the power to suspend laws, move entire populations, arrest, detain citizens without warrant. I need you to understand something also. An American citizen and a Native American or an American is not one and the same. There's the delineation. An American system is being facilitated by the corporate system, right? Meaning that you're basically collateral to the United States corporation. The best way to understand that the United States is a corporation, you go to the 27 CFR 72.11 that's connected to the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, right? So when you had the Social Security Act that was implemented after the stock market crash in 1929, this is when they turned American citizens into humanoid real estate, because there's no intrinsic resource such as gold being backed by the money system, right? Being backed by the Federal Reserve. So it's basically fiat currency. So the United States is basically $33 trillion in debt to the international banking system, right? So when you have collateral, you see what I'm saying? When you have collateral, everybody who has Social Security numbers is collateral to the United States corporation. So in order to suspend that debt, the $33 trillion, you have to create a form of depopulation that's acclimated to FEMA, right? Because like I said, we are the humanoid real estate. We are the currency. This is why you got to go to work and things of that nature. Everything is connected to the corporate entity of the United States corporation, which is a de facto government, a demonstrative government under democracy, right? It's a demonstrative government, meaning that it's a fake government. It's a corporation ruled by a fictitious money system that is not backed by a natural resource or not backed by gold since 1934. So like I said, there's no way you can pay back $33 trillion in debt to these international banking systems. So in order to eliminate the debt, you have to eliminate the people, because we are the money. We're the humanoid real estate, right? So like I said, this is all connected. So they have the ability to move food supplies, transportation systems, and can basically suspend the Constitution, like I said in the beginning, right? Now, when a state of emergency is declared, when you look at Executive Order 11921, it allows the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency to develop plans to establish control over mechanisms of production and distribution of sources, wages, salaries. Because I told you, BRICS is also connected to the crypto control system that has a food rationing passport. So many that they can basically monitor how much you eat, how much you use when you're talking about these so-called resources that's under a universal based income when you're talking about these smart cities, right? So you got the money flow in the United States financial institution in any undefined national emergency, right? So the president, Congress can review the action for 6 months. So now we're going to get into some executive orders. Executive Order number 1265-6 appointed the National Security Council as a principal body that should basically consider emergency powers, right? So this is going against, those who speak against the government, right? Which basically increases the domestic intelligence and the surveillance of the United States citizens, right? Because they want to have, when you look at the etymology of the word government, it means to control the mental. They want to control the mental capacity of those who are thinking outside of the box of the matrix system. That's what's going on. So they want to restrict your freedom of movement within the United States and grant the government the right to isolate large groups of civilians, right? This is why I tell people all the time, think for yourself while still legal to, because it's going to come in point in time when you have the ability to deviate from the system mentally, spiritually, and vibrationally. That's when you basically become a target because you're not conforming to the new system, right? So you got the National Guard could be federalized to seal all borders and take control of the United States airspace in all ports of entry, right? Then you have executive order. Oh, it's too big. Then you have executive order 11001 allows the government to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. There's going to come a point in time where you're not going to be able to use that, your government benefits. Executive order 1099-8 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms. They've been doing that right now when you're talking about the Gates Foundation, right? Then you got executive order 1099-7 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum fuels, and minerals, right? This is a form of a centralized government under the continuity of government. So you got the executive order 11003 allows the government to take over all airports and aircraft, including commercial aircraft, right? Then you got executive order 11001 allows the government to take over. We already went through that. Then you got executive order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, meaning that they're going to put you in a FEMA camp after the planet is in a state of a desolation. So then you have the build new housing with public funds, designated areas to be abandoned and establish new locations for populations. Then you got executive order 11005 allows the government to take over railroads. So this is why you've seen those coffins back in the early 2000s, those coffins that was connected to FEMA. So they're able to take over railroads, the inland waterways, and the public storage facilities. Then you got executive order 11310 grants authority to the Department of Justice to enforce the plans to set out in executive orders and to institute industrial support to establish judicial legislative liaison to control all aliens to operate penal and correctional institutions, right? Then you got the executive order 11051 specifies the responsibility of the Office of Emergency Planning and gives authorization to put all executive orders in effect in times of increased international tensions and economic or financial crisis. We are in that right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's not by coincidence that all this stuff is being facilitated by FEMA, by the United Nations, by the BRICS nation, because it's all connected to the energy grid. Because when the grid goes down, that's when the planet is in a state of destabilization. No water, no internet, no things of that nature, no ability to facilitate your own produce and resources, right? In order to have some type of self-preservation to get through the calamity and the abomination of desolation. So this is all being perpetuated by the Project 2030, right? All these things must come to pass before the year 2030. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, there's an extrapolation of events that must take place. This is your so-called 7-year tribulation period, right? So this is why you have FEMA has a crisis response and disaster resilience in 2030, forging strategic action in age of uncertainty, right? So it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is being taken place. So this is the old system, right? Which is the trinity of the globalist control, which is a form of a trilateral connection that was galvanized by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Kissingers. When you read the Kissinger report, the National Memorandum 200, George Soros and people like that. And this global control of the old system under the Piscean Age was being facilitated by the City of London Corporation, which is financial power, and the District of Columbia, which is basically a militarized group for the United Nations. Then you got the Vatican City, which is basically a monotheistic corporate system that's connected to the Freemasonic order. So these was basically the old heads of the one world governmental system. But since I told you that when Trump signed the National Emergency Declaration, which suspends the Constitution, that's when FEMA took over. So the new trilateral corporate entity, the corporate power that's going to have rulership over the planet for 1,000 years before the Elohim come back to the planet, when you're talking about the Anunnaki. So this is the new system that's going to be facilitated by FEMA, the United Nations, and the BRIC nations. So that is the new trilateral connection as they try to implement the new system, as they have rulership for 1,000 years, right? Which is one day in the heavens, right? So this is right before the Elohim come back to the planet. When you're talking about the unification process of the 144,000, when the planet is being in a state of destabilization by these draconian reptilian archons under a draconian law, which is under governmental ordinance departments, right? So, hold on, where's my cursor? Now, since with all that being said, it's imperative that we watch this video, right? Because everything that I said is basically simultaneously connected to what this cardinal or this papal got to say. He works inside the Vatican. So like I said, under the threefold law, they got to give you the truth, whether it's in a movie, whether it's through entertainment, whether it's through, fiction, or like I said, they got to give you the truth, even if it's connected to their monotheistic belief systems, right? So I'm going to play the video.
Dear friends, for 2 years now, we have been witnessing a global coup d'etat.
Now, a global coup d'etat is a nomenclature title for the word global reset. That's what he's basically saying.
In which a financial and ideological elite has succeeded in seizing control of part of the national government, public and private institutions, the media, the judiciary, politicians, and religious leaders. All of these, without distinction, have become enslaved to these new masters who ensure power, money, and social affirmation to their accomplices. Fundamental rights, which up until yesterday were presented as inviolable, have been trampled underfoot in the name of an emergency. Today, a health emergency. Tomorrow, an ecological emergency. And after that, an internet emergency.
So like I said, it's not a coincidence that the World Economic Forum 2 years ago said it is inevitable that you're going to have a internet apocalypse that's going to be taking place, right? So that is basically the shutting down of the grid system as you implement a new system under the BRICS nation, which is a crypto control system that works on the market of beast principles, right? So I need you to understand something. Even though he's giving you the truth, don't let this, this concept of him having a veneration for Christianity or Catholicism, because you see the cross around his neck. Like I said, these are Freemasonic, monotheistic, satanic worship, right? It's all Luciferian principles. So I need you to understand something. Just because he's giving you the truth doesn't mean that he's a benevolent entity, right? I need you to understand that. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand, you got to open up your spiritual eye. Just because you have wicked people giving you the truth doesn't mean that they're benevolent.
This global coup d'etat deprives citizens of any possibility of defense, since the legislative, executive, and judicial powers are complicit in the violation of law, justice, and the purpose for which they exist. It is a global coup d'etat because this criminal attack against citizens extends to the whole world, with every very rare exception. It is a world war where the enemies are all of us, even those who unwittingly have not yet understood the significance of what is happening. It is a war fought not with weapons, but with illegitimate rules, wicked economic policies, and intolerable limitation of natural rights. Supranational organizations, financed in large measure by the conspirator of this coup d'etat, are interfering in the government of individual nations and in the lives, relationships, and health of billions of people. They are doing it for money, certainly, but even more. So in order to centralize power so as to establish a planetary dictatorship. It is the great reset of the World Economic Forum, the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations.
So, like I said, it's imperative that you understand that there's a process of an extrapolation of events that leads up to the year of 2030. So people be like, well, something's going to happen on 2030. No, there's processes. So many that the great majority of the calamity, the great majority of the afflictions, the great majority of the technology is going to be taking place within the years in between that leads up to the year of 2030, right? Because the year of 2030 is their so-called destination of when they want to basically have dominion over the planet. Because like I said, we in that process of when they want to activate the New World Order, and we in that time period right now. We in the 7-year tribulation period, 2023 to 2030. So I need you to understand something too. Like a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, in order to galvanize and reap the benefits of understanding everything intuitively of what's taking place astrologically, politically, energetically, spiritually, financially, all these things, you got to sit through videos like this. You know what I'm saying? You have to do your own due diligence. You know what I'm saying? You can't really just, look to other people to give you the information. You got to sit through videos. You got to read books. So I understand this video might be a little boring to you, but at the same time, you got to sit through videos like this in order to get an intuitive understanding about what's going on. I'm going to keep playing the video.
It is the plan of the New World Order, in which a universal republic enslaves everyone and a religious of humanity counsels faith in Christ. In the face of this global coup d'etat, it is necessary to form an international anti-globalist alliance which gathers all those who want to oppose the dictatorship, who have no intention of becoming slaves to a faceless power, who are not willing to cancel their own identity, their own.
He's basically talking about the black nobility who hide in these headquarters in Switzerland, right? Who are basically your low-level archons that controls the three-dimensional matrix system, that controls your elite.
Duality, their own religious faith. If the attack is global, the defense must also be global. I call upon rulers, politicians and religious leaders, intellectuals and all people of goodwill, inviting them to unite in an alliance that launches an anti-globalist manifesto, refuting point by point the errors and deviation of this dystopia of the New World Order, and proposing concrete alternatives for a political program inspired by the common good, the moral principles of Christianity, traditional values, the protection of life and the natural family, the protection of business and work, the promotion of education and research, and respect for creation. This anti-globalist alliance will have to bring together the nations that intend to escape the infernal yoke of tyranny and affirm their own sovereignty, forming agreements of mutual collaboration with nations and people who share the principle and the common yearning for freedom, justice, and goodness. It will have to denounce the crimes of the elite, identify those responsible, denounce them to international tribunals, and limit their excessive power and harmful influence. It will have to prevent the action of the lobbies, above all by fighting against the corruption of state officials and those who work in the information industry, and by freezing the capital used to destabilize the social order. In nations where the government is subservient to the elite, they will be able to establish popular resistance movement and communities of national liberation, including representatives of all sectors of society who propose a radical reform of politics inspired by the common good and firmly opposed to the neo-Malthusian project of the globalist agenda. I invite all those who want to defend the traditional society to meet together in an international forum to be held as soon as possible, in which representatives of various nations come together to present a serious, concrete, and clear proposal. My appeal is made to political leaders and to rulers who care about good of their citizens, leaving aside the old system of political parties and the logic imposed by a system enslaved to power and money. I call the Christian nation together from east to...
So I'm going to stop it right there because he ain't really saying too much of nothing else. But like I said, they got to give you the truth, you know what I'm saying? He's letting you know what I'm saying? He used to work inside the Vatican, but the Vatican is shut down, right? So, and he was speaking about a New World Order. They've been talking about this New World Order for years, right? I'm going to play this.
Decency and humanity. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. Such is a world worthy of our struggle and worthy of our children's future. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order. A real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
So like I said, United Nations, FEMA, and the BRICS nation is the new corporation under the New World Order corporate war entity, right? That is the new facilitation. That's the new trilateral connection of power, right? So now, I need you to understand something. This is all connected to prophetic divination when you're talking about the so-called Antichrist, right? So Antichrist is, so there's a dichotomy between the two. Antichrist in itself, meaning that you can be anti yourself because we are the Christ energy, which is the Christos, the ability for mental and spiritual alignment and ascension. And Antichrist, which is also acclimated to a form of monotheistic religion, is they're talking about actual being or actual person. So they're talking about here that was told by Jesse Zaboter. You have Hillary Clinton was supposed to sit on the throne and prepare the world for the Antichrist. But right now you have the new face, which is going to be Kamala Harris once Joe Biden, something happens to him. He's supposed to be, coming into power. I mean, she's supposed to be coming into power once he dies off, right? So she's basically the face and the personification of the whore of Babylon, right? So it says right here, verbatim, we make the contract with Lucifer, Leviathan, Baal, Baphomet, and the ceremony pool. It is filled with blood and dismembered body parts, filled with remains, blood, and things of that nature. So I'm not going to get into the rest of that. So like I said, that's why it tells you right here that the Vice President Kamala Harris says she may take over as President of the United States and is ready to do so, right? So this will all happen before the abomination of desolation, right? Which is your personification of the 10 kings, right? So this is around the time, this is basically an extrapolation of events because BRICS was implemented after you had the BRICS. BRICS was implemented in August 2022, which leads up to a form of calamity around September. So this is not a coincidence that you see this mushroom cloud right here. That is basically a representation of calamity to engineer the mark of the beast system, which is why you see the goat head right there. The engineer the mark of the beast system that is facilitated by FEMA and the trilateral connection of United Nations and the BRIC nations, right? So it's not a coincidence that at the end, I was showing you right here, it says around September 2023, there's going to be a form of calamity to engineer FEMA. And this calamity, could it be this geostorm that we got going on right here?
Okay, I'm going to make this video, Wendy.com. You can check this yourself. Today is Wednesday the 6th. I'm going Wednesday. Now let's go to Thursday. I want y'all to pay attention to something in real time. I want you to keep an eye on that sucker down there. Evening, Thursday evening, Friday morning. I'm doing this off this tracker over here where my cursor is. See that? Friday. Watch. Saturday the 9th. Saturday midday, Saturday evening. Just watch, guys. Sunday the 10th, Sunday midday, Sunday evening, early Monday morning, the 11th. What's popping up? Midday Monday, evening, early morning, Thursday the 12th. Midday Thursday, Thursday evening, 13th on Wednesday. Y'all seeing this? 14th on Thursday. Are y'all seeing this? Thursday evening, early Friday morning, the 15th. Are y'all seeing this, right? Midday Friday on the 15th. Boom. And what does it have in its path? Now, where is that some bitch named Lee? Right here. Where is Lee? All of these have conjoined to give you the biggest storm the East Coast has ever seen. From Florida all the way up to New York. These storms have merged. So for those that come in here to give me negative comments, I just proved to you in real time. And I advise everybody to start checking this from here on out that watches this video. Please share this because this could save a lot of lives on the East Coast, from Florida all the way up to New York. Please, it's sleight of hand. Much love. Peace. Okay, I'm gonna make
also a video I had not too long ago. I can't find it, but they said they got nukes inside the Atlantic Ocean to where they can engineer tsunamis and hurricanes and things of that nature. So, like I said, you're gonna have the BRICS was implemented on August 22nd, and then around this time, September 22nd, when you're gonna have a form of calamity which leads up to the mark of the beast energy, right? To where they implement FEMA. Because like I said, when you have calamity, that puts the planet in a state of destabilization. So it's not a coincidence that when you go to the bottom right here, it says that the great New York City tsunami of 2026. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, tomorrow, whenever, but you know, it is a sure thing that something is going to be taking place. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a crisis that's going to take place that's going to wipe out the great majority of the East Coast, right? So these are basically in your mandated points of events of the 7 seals and the 7 trumpets, right? But meaning that all this stuff in between that time, something has to take place in order to implement and activate FEMA. When you activate FEMA, you activate the BRICS nation. Once you have all that calamity basically destabilized and everything under a centralized government, that's when United Nations basically take over. That's the new system, right? So this is why you have, because they know that we in the last solar cycle, right? Which is out of the 24,000 year verification, right? So this is not a coincidence that when you look at it from a cosmological standpoint, you got the last trumpet, and you got the 7-year tribulation, which is the foundation of the year of chaos, which was started in 2020, 2019 and going into 2020. Then the beginning of the 7-year tribulation period in 2023, all the way up until the year 2030, right? So this is where it talks about that solar eclipse that I've been talking about, the American solar eclipse, around April 8th, 2024, right? And then you got another one coming up on my birthday, like I said in my last video, because the solar eclipses is the return of the ancestral energy, right? So you got the Feast of the Trumpets, 2022, September 27, 927, Daniel's 927, which is the agreement under the 7-year tribulation, right? So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be taking place because everything works in cycles when you understand the mythology of things that start to take place in the Bible, right? Because the Bible is a contract, it's a Freemasonic playbook about the end of the Canaanite. So you got September 22nd, 2023, plus 1,260 days, which is Friday, March 5th, 2027. These numbers takes us beyond 2,300 days and nights, right? So it tells you about Daniel. Therefore, this doesn't work. March 11, 2020, plus 2,300 days, Sunday, June 28th, 2026. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be taking place, whether it's, today, 2024, 2025, 2026, in between that time up to the year 2030, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be taking place, and 2030 ain't that far away. You know what I'm saying? We just came from, 2020, and that shit happened like, yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a coincidence that the White House announces continuation of the national emergency declared on September 14, right? So this is basically a continuation process from the corporate war entities of the de facto corporation that happened on 9/11 leading up all the way up until now, right? So this is all connected to the divine prophecy of the cosmic clock, right? Make sure I ain't got no videos that I got to show you guys. Yeah, this is all connected to the divine prophecy of the cosmic clock. Because I told you there must be calamity. You have to have an abomination of desolation in order to engineer and activate FEMA.
I want to reiterate that appreciation today. I also convened my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary.
You hear what he said? Increase the number of extreme weather events. Meaning that, like I said, everything works on the Hegelian dialectic. You create problems, the public, the masses have a reaction, and then you give a malevolent solution, a solution that's basically used to destabilize and centralize everybody under the continuity of government. So this is where they activate FEMA. FEMA, they will act like, they coming out to help you when really, like I said, they trying to destabilize you, right? So I'm going to play this again.
Government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary.
Because like I said, that's what Geostorm, watch the movie Geostorm, right? The planet was in a state of destabilization because you had all these calamities on the planet, because that's the only way you can activate FEMA. If the grid shuts down, you have all these tsunamis, you know what I'm saying? That's when you activate FEMA. And then that's when, the people are basically going to be calling for help, right? To where they got to conform to the new system, right? So this works in symbiotic connection with the cosmic clock, right? Because there's a clock that works on the energy of the Canaanite beast man. Then you got a cosmic clock. Cosmic clock is galvanized by nature, right? Meaning that everything has to go through a reset, which is the centrifugal and the centripetal forces. You got the male and the female. The male is the sun, the female is the moon. Then you got the unification and the union process, which is the black star, which is the black sun, which is your personification of a solar eclipse that's going to happen on October 14th. Then another one on April 8th, 2024, which is the foundation of judgment. So you got the judgment in itself, meaning that everything operates on 0 point energy, right? So 0 point energy, meaning that you go from generation to degeneration, because that's how we at the end of a system. When you reap the benefits and reach the mandated cap on a system, the only way, there's no evolution in the third dimension. I need you to understand that. There's no such thing as evolution in the third dimension, because everything works on a trilateral energy, right? Meaning that it works on dualistic principles. So that's how you reap the benefits of the mandated cap of the system. The music is getting worse, right? The food is getting worse, right? The political system is getting worse. People are getting worse. So when you have a generation and you lead up to degeneration, it has to go through a process of reset, right? Which is why you see the 7 colors of the chakra system, because the cosmic clock has a chakra system that's acclimated to the chakra system of the planet, which is connected to the chakra system of human beings on the planet. As the planet is going through a reset, the cosmos is going through a reset, we are biologically going through a reset. So this is where you go into 0 point energy, right? You have to reset in order to work in symbiotic connection with the cosmic clock, because when the time is up and you're not activated to be in alignment, you're going to be discarded when the old system dies out. right? Because that's, like I said, that's how you know that this is the end of a system. Everything is basically degenerating. Everything is devolving. There's no evolution for the third dimension. The only way you have evolution is when you get into the mental plane, right? The spiritual plane, the ethereal plane, right? The higher dimensions, the fourth and the fifth dimension, right? So that is the personification of balance. The universe, what does it say? I don't know what it says. All cosmic and the macrocosm and the microcosm processes from atoms to galaxies proceeds cyclically and through the 7 stages, which is connected to your 7-year tribulation, and the first 3 with the apparent degeneration, and the 4th one of equilibrium. Equilibrium meaning that it vibrates on a form of balance, a reset, 0 point energy, right? And the last 3 of gradual development. Because when you get into the higher dimensions, this is when you start to evolve. But reset in itself is connected to the solar cycle. The solar cycle is connected to when the sun is at solar maximum. So this is where you get a solar cycle aptitude that's connected to the cosmic clock, that's connected to your chakra system and your endocrine system, that's connected to the 7 chakras of planet Earth. So like I said, in the ascension process in itself is being galvanized by the solar activity when the sun is at solar maximum, when you're looking at this chart right here, right? Because we in the sun cycle, the Aquarian age, right? Now, I'm gonna play this. So like I said, it's not a coincidence all the stuff is taking place right now, because like I said, they need distractions. They need all these a form of technology and psychological operations to take place in order to, you know, create this new world order plan under FEMA, under BRICS, and under the United Nations.
Pour people into zombies. As odd as that sounds, our government.
Remember, he said he just
people into.
He's talking about how the government want to turn people into zombies. But I need you to understand something. I'm gonna play the video first.
Pour people into zombies. As odd as that sounds, our government's preparing for that.
But the FEMA have already put out zombie commercials and con-ops on that, correct?
That's correct. If you look at Con Plan 8888, Stratcom put that out in 2011. On page 2, they say, "Oh, this is just for examples, just for demonstration. You know, don't worry about it, so we don't offend other countries." The problem with that is, you look through that Con Plan, it's all about 5 different types of zombies. There isn't anything in there about opposition forces. There isn't anything about winning political battles or counterinsurgencies. It is only about a zombie apocalypse, defending it. And you will see that every NIMS compliant practically agency, or whether that's state, local, or federal, has already had their zombie apocalypse preparedness training. They've already done their practice. The CDC has had a zombie apocalypse preparedness website up for the last 5 years. Now they've reduced it to a PDF cartoon. Even in the Amazon Web Services contract, the force majeure clause, I believe it's Article 41, states that we're not liable for damages in case there's a zombie apocalypse. This is coming, folks, and the serious adverse event report.
So like I said, the zombie apocalypse in itself, like I said, this is all connected to the energy grid, right? So it's not a coincidence that FEMA and the World Economic Forum been giving you all the, you know, receipts and information to tell you that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. But a lot of people pass it off as a form of entertainment and fiction. So the zombification process happens when you have the P136 deletion syndrome, right? Which is basically the dematerialization of the 2 frontal lobes of the brain, to where you have the propensity to start to bite people, right? Because it puts a strain on the hypothalamus gland, because it puts the endocrine system out of alignment, right? So this is going to be activated by the EMF waves of the 18 gigahertz frequency that's connected to these 5G towers, right? So that's all connected too. So this is all connected to FEMA. Everything's connected, right? Now I'm gonna play these last 2 videos, because like I told you, everything is, they put it in front of your face, because I told you all this stuff is going to be activated when you have the Mystery Babylon personification of the whore of Babylon when she's going to be put in office. So when she's put in office, that's when you start the abomination of desolation. Then you activate FEMA. Then you have the unification of United Nations, FEMA, and the BRICS nation. I'm going to play this video.
We do have a young lady at some point become president of the United States. I can tell you how I think it will happen, because it won't happen in the normal course of events. Either the Republican or Democrat political party will nominate a man for president and a woman for vice president. And the woman and man will win. So you'll end up with a president, a male, and a vice president, a female. And in that term of office of the president will die. And the woman will become president under the law or constitution. Well, I hope.
So it's like I said, so now when you look at this video, right? So this is all connected.
Harris putting the fear of God, who might sit out 2024. The vice president strutting like a girl boss as she claims to be ready to take over the big job. And that's the presidency. You go, girl. President Biden sent her overseas to Indonesia, and she came back in his place for a big summit. And that's where she reminded voters that she's one sandbag away from the top job.
And the reason that happens is because reason they're going to put her in office because they want her to pander for the black vote. Because I told you there's no such thing as democracy. Democracy in itself is a demonstrative government, right? So when you have a demonstrative government that works on the frequency of demonic rulership, this is where you get the people who are connected to the land, right? Who are the seeds of Enki. When you break down the energy and the nomenclature title of Enki, En means Lord, Ki means Kai means planet Earth. Those are the seeds who are supposed to be in control of planet Earth. But they took you away from your sovereignty and your divinity when they got you connected to these religious systems in a form of materialism, which is also the sleep spell that I was talking about in my last video, right? Because I told you, you go to the G3526 Strong Concordance, when you call yourself a Christian, you call yourself black. So that connects you right back to the corporation that's being facilitated under a demonstrative government, which works on patriarchy and democracy, right? So it's not a coincidence that they using her, a so-called black person, to pander the black vote. That's why she was at this little hip hop event. She getting shoes from Fat Joe and things of that nature. This is all theatrics to make you conform back to the de facto corporation, because it's the end of a new system. It's the end of the Canaanite beastman. It's the end of the trilateral connection of the District of Columbia, who controls the military. Then you got the British monarchy system, who controls the Federal Reserve. Then you got the Vatican, who controls religion. That's the old system. That old system is phasing out in 2024. It's the end of the 6,000 years. So the new system has to be facilitated by FEMA, the United Nations, and the BRICS nation, right? So she is going to be Mystery Babylon, who controls those three corporate powers that give you a false perception of a matriarchal energy, right? She ain't no matriarch. She is basically a face of a false matriarch that is controlling everything in a form of patriarchy that is being controlled by the archons and the black nobility groups in Switzerland, right? So you have to have the mental and spiritual fortitude in order to understand who's who and what's what. So they know that the great majority of black people are very politically naive, so much to the point where they don't vote when it comes to they don't vote strategically. They vote emotionally, right? They vote based on perception and skin color, or if a person is dancing or hanging out with celebrities, you know what I'm saying? Like those who are stuck under the sleep spell, these are I'm talking about the 85%ers who are the NPCs. Those are the ones who are easily mentally manipulated to connect them to the new system, right? So that's why I said everybody is not going to reap the benefits of mental and spiritual ascension because they still under that sleep spell. they still believe all this. They still believe in this demonstrative government. They still believe in, oh, my president is black, and they think that's progressiveness, when really it's a form of degeneration, right? Because anytime they start putting people who look like us in front of us, that's how you know that it's the end of the corporate system, right? It's another form of technology, right? It's another form to pull you back into the sleep spell, because they know that the ascension process is connected to the sun cycle, to where it wakes up the spiritual eye, right? They want to put you back under that sleep spell, right? So for those of you coming in, right, we basically going over everything, how all this stuff, these executive orders is all this stuff is connected to FEMA. Because like I told you, FEMA takes over when the planet is in a state of destabilization, right? FEMA has more power than the president. I told you, when Trump signed the National Emergency Declaration, that suspended the whole Constitution. When you suspend the Constitution, right, that basically puts the planet under a centralized government, which is connected to a continuity of government principles, right? It's a new system in, being perpetuated. So that's why it tells you right here, FEMA has more power than the president, right? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm saying? We at the end game. You know what I'm saying? It's really, you got to come down to the point, because you don't know when this grid is going to shut down. You don't know what's going to happen on the West Coast. You don't know when, you know, all these forms of calamity is going to be taking place. So you got to get your resources together. Make sure you have a place to relocate when they try to, if they tell you last minute to where you got to evacuate. Make sure you got a place to stay. Make sure you stay connected with family. You know what I'm saying? Hypothetically speaking, if you live in New York and you live in Florida, you live on the coastlines or whatever, I've been telling people to stay off the coastlines, but they don't want to listen. They want to be by the beach. They want to live their best life. They want to be in the big cities. You need to move inland. So if you got family that you don't like inland, connect with those people so you can relocate. You know what I'm saying? Because everything right now is based on self-preservation. But you got to have the resources in order to reap the benefits of self-preservation. You know what I'm saying? You got to get out of your ego, because the ego is the demiurge. The demiurge is connected to the third dimension. So when you're stuck in your ego, you're thinking on a three-dimensional level, right? You're thinking on a three-dimensional level, which is a low vibrational frequency, meaning that you're submental, right? So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you took a lot of screenshots of all those executive orders that I was showing you guys, because this video was filled with a lot of receipts that's connected to the 7-year tribulation period, which is your great purification. We're going through reset. Everything is going through reset that's connected to the cosmic clock. So get this video out there. Thanks for watching this video. End of transmission.